everyone, and welcome to Quiz and Hers, the podcast where we test each other's knowledge and the strength of our relationship. My name's Hallie, and I'm here today with my fiance, Justin, the trivia champion. I don't know.
You're the reigning Quiz and Hers champion.
That's true. The trivia king. My trivia king.
My queen.
All right,
So, yes?
Why do I keep blanking lately? So, the way the podcast works, if you're new, what?
Hashtag professional.
What?
Nothing.
It was a rough transition, but
Yeah.
what would you like me to say?
I'd like you to explain how the podcast works for people who are new.
Great. That's
Okay.
what I'm going to do.
Excellent.
Right now.
All right.
Okay. So, basically, we take turns each week asking each other 6 questions from 6 different categories and all 6 are tied together with a common theme. The categories that we discuss are times and places, arts and literature, sounds and screens, sports and games, science, and everything else.
Mm-hmm.
And, each one will have a little bit of a discussion about the answer.
Yep.
To each one. Does that cover everything?
You're up 10-7.
Yes.
But
I'm
you're
currently leading.
But you're 1 game ahead of me on the season, so
right. So
hopefully I can at least hold serve today, if not take a lead for the first time all season.
Correct.
Okay.
Okay. Are you ready to know today's theme?
Yes.
It's a little long.
Okay.
All right. You're going to realize what it is right away, but you have to let me say the whole thing.
Okay.
I call today's theme ... dash 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 dot dash He's just shaking his head.
How are we gonna fucking promote that on social media? That's like 2/3 of a tweet right there.
Periods and dashes.
I guess. All right.
Do you want me to pick something not as long?
No.
Do you want to know what it means?
I think it means the theme of today's game is Morse code?
It's code.
Oh, okay.
Like codes and cryptography and that kind of thing.
Fun. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So what does it mean?
It just means I love trivia.
Cool. All right.
Yeah. I guess I could have picked something shorter like, yay. I don't know.
All right. Cool. So codes and code breaking and things?
Yeah.
Fun. Okay. Cool. Speaking
of code breaking, question 1. Times and places.
The Enigma machine.
You gotta be fucking kidding me.
Wait, is that right?
Yeah, I hate
you. Okay, you've done that to me.
Get out!
No, you've done that to me once before. You've
out you go.
No, you've done that to me once. You answered a question before I asked it. All right, what's the
Which one did I do? Was it? No.
I don't know. It was something very early. It was like in season 1. I definitely remember you did this, but I forget what it was.
I can't remember.
I'm not sure.
All right.
All right, what's the question?
What were the names of the typewriter-looking machines developed in the early 20th century and mainly used by Nazi Germany that enciphered their communications and was ultimately broken by the Polish General Staff's Cipher Bureau in 1932?
The Enigma machine.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, I assume you know a lot about this.
Not really. I know it comes up a lot, and I mean, it's probably the most, trivia relevant piece of cryptography history.
Yeah, fair
Which
enough.
is a weirdly specific thing to say.
All right,
but
right. I mean, how could I do this game and not talk
about
it?
Of course. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So the way that the Enigma machines work is called a polyalphabetic substitution cipher, meaning that you basically just substitute one letter for another.
Right.
So, probably when you were a kid, you did the thing where you would write the alphabet backwards under that alphabet, and each of those letters would mean,
sure.
that, and that would be the code, right? So, rather than doing that, the Enigma inventors realized they could just use a random sequence of letters, which would make it very difficult to figure out. So, rather than writing the alphabet backwards, it was just, random.
I see.
So, I mean, my theory about this is, if people can solve a crypto quote in the newspaper, how hard could this really be? But anyway, personally, if you're just replacing every letter for another letter, well, I'll explain. It's a little more complicated.
Yeah, I assume it's more than that.
It is more than that.
Okay.
But also, those things are really hard.
Yes, they are.
They're fun.
I'm not very good at those.
I'm okay. So what they did was they developed a rotor cipher machine, it was called, and it changes each character in the text to form the ciphertext. It randomly scrambles the rotors so that it would take a very long time for the same cipher to repeat itself. Does that make sense?
So the cipher being like the mapping from one letter to another?
Right.
Okay, yeah.
I mean, there's 26 letters of the alphabet.
Right.
At least in our alphabet, and Germany has the same alphabet, as far as I know.
I believe that is correct.
So each message, therefore, had its own key, which would be the way to figure out only that message.
I see.
So
the message would
Morse
like
code.
Start with like information, like some kind of code that signified the cipher?
Yeah, it had like a key kind of thing.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah. So before World War II in 1927, the UK bought a commercial Enigma machine. However, they only had their own messages to work with for a long time. Eventually, after Germany supplied Enigma machines to the nationalists in the Spanish Civil War, Britain was able to intercept the radio broadcast messages. Dilly Knox, I love that name, Dilly Knox, a British cryptographer, was able to decrypt these messages, but they still couldn't read the messages broadcast by Germany because they were using the military-grade Enigma machines.
Okay.
They're harder to break.
Right, well, yeah, makes sense.
So in 1932, Marian Rejewski, a Polish mathematician, was tasked by the Polish Cipher Bureau with breaking the Enigma. Even though he didn't know anything about the wiring of the machine, he quickly realized how to decipher the messages. He realized that there was one indicator setting for all messages on a network each day, and also the message key was repeated in the 6-letter indicator, which is what we were just talking about.
Like the what indicates what the cipher is.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm not going to lie, I don't like 100% understand how this works, but it's not really trivia relevant, so I'm not going to
like I've read about this a little bit once, because some of this is kind of ringing a bell. It wouldn't have been for school. I was probably just dicking around on Wikipedia, let's be honest, because that's what I do for fun.
Typical day.
Yeah. Just another Saturday afternoon.
Yeah.
But I feel like I've read a little bit about this at some point.
Probably. I'm sure you did.
Yeah.
You do read a lot.
Yeah.
So after this, the French got access to some Enigma documents, including 2 German manuals and 2 pages of Enigma daily keys, which they shared with the Polish Cipher Bureau. Rejewski was actually able to use these documents to figure out the Enigma scrambler wiring. A big breakthrough for him was realizing that unlike the commercial Enigma machines, the military German ones had their keys in alphabetical order, and based on this, he was able to figure out all 3 of the rotors of the machine.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. And the Polish Cipher Bureau then made replicas of the Enigma machines, which they called Enigma doubles.
Yeah, I've heard of that. That they basically just like reproduced it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yep. So the Polish Cipher Bureau continued to work on figuring out all of the details and working on fabricating their own device. But in 1938, Germany added 2 additional rotors, which increased the possible wheel orders from 6 to 60. I tried to do the math. I'm still confused.
Okay.
I don't know.
Then I guess I won't try.
Let me know if you can figure it out. Because like it makes sense if you have 3 rotors that there would be 6 possible.
3 times 2 times 1.
Right.
Yeah.
But if you have 5...
5 times 4 times 3, yeah.
Right? Shouldn't it be 120?
Yes.
Okay, I don't know if I'm missing something. Maybe it's something related to how this machine
works.
works.
No. Wait.
Yeah, because 5 times 4 is 20.
20.
Times 3
3
is 60. Times 2 is 120. I don't know.
Yeah. Okay.
We must be missing something.
Yeah.
Maybe like one of them didn't move. I don't know.
All right. Yeah, I don't know.
Let's go with that.
Sure.
So, during World War II, Alan Turing, working for the British government Code and Cipher School, created some techniques for speeding up the breaking of German ciphers. He also improved upon Rejewski's method for finding Enigma machine settings, which was called the Polish bomb method. It would be another entire discussion to discuss Alan Turing and his contributions to cryptanalysis, and I'm not going to get into that because we'd be here
until
for
question
a long time.
4.
No. No, hopefully another time.
Yeah, that'd be a fun one to talk about, actually.
That's an interesting topic.
Yeah. Cool.
Yep. All right. I realized I have front-loaded this game a little bit. Oh,
Yeah.
That's
Okay.
Ready for question 2?
Yeah.
Arts and literature.
Okay.
In what novel, published in 2003, does the main character solve the code to open a cryptext which leads him to the discovery that his partner, a cryptographer, is a descendant of Jesus Christ and Mary Magdalene?
Oh,
Oh, I guess this wasn't as easy as I was thinking.
well, I mean, I think I know the series. The question is, which one is it? I guess I'll pick the most prominent one, the Da Vinci Code?
Yeah, it literally has code in the name.
Okay. Yeah, but I mean, that kind
Alright,
of
fine.
Dan Brown bullshit could be in any of the books in that series.
Fair enough.
Yeah, okay.
I'm just going to talk about, well, I'll talk a little bit about Dan Brown and the Da Vinci Code.
Okay.
Yeah, it's Dan Brown. I don't think I said that in the question. That would be too easy.
Yes.
So yeah, it was written by Dan Brown. The title refers to the beginning of the novel when the main character, Robert Langdon, is brought to the Louvre by French police to look at a murder victim who is posed as Da Vinci's Vitruvian Man. And if you've never seen Vitruvian Man, it's a drawing by Da Vinci of a man with his arms and legs spread out, and it's meant to illustrate the ideal body proportions. So this man, Jacques Saunier, who is the curator of the Louvre, is murdered by an albino Catholic monk by the name of Silas, who we learn is working for someone only known as the Teacher. The Teacher wants to find something called the Keystone, which is apparently essential in finding the Holy Grail. I don't know.
This all sounds not good.
I love it.
Okay.
Guilty pleasure. Anyway. When Langdon gets to the Louvre, he meets the police captain who tells him that before he died, Saunier left a cryptic message including a Fibonacci sequence out of order and ended with P.S. Find Robert Langdon, which made the captain think that Langdon was probably the murderer, which makes sense.
Yeah.
Langdon then
Although if you were going to identify your murderer at your murder scene, why would you write out a disordered Fibonacci sequence first? Wouldn't you just write, hey guys, it was Robert Langdon, he's the one who killed me and posed my body?
Maybe it was more important. Priorities.
All right.
Maybe it's a very important sequence of numbers. I don't know.
Go on.
I don't actually get into that. I don't even remember. Anyway.
Okay.
So Langdon then meets Sophie Neveu, who is a police cryptographer and Saunier's estranged granddaughter. Langdon and Neveu decipher Saunier's code, which leads them to a safe deposit box in which they find the keystone, which is the cryptex that I mentioned in the question. And the cryptex is a cylinder with 5 rings that can be turned and are labeled with letters. That's basically what a cryptex is.
Okay.
You could picture it.
Yeah.
The box with the cryptex also contains clues to the password. Langdon and Neveu decide to speak with Langdon's friend Teabing, an expert on the Holy Grail, who tells them that it is not actually a cup, but is a tomb containing Mary Magdalene's bones.
All right.
This is like some conspiracy theory that people have in real life.
Yeah. That book, Holy Blood, Holy Grail, right? It says
Yes.
proposed.
I didn't get into that, but yes.
It's
all based on that.
Right. They proposed that since the Latin text didn't have spaces, Sangreal, Sainted Grail, was a mistranslation. It was Sangreal, meaning royal blood.
Exactly.
Yeah. I don't know what that has to do with Mary Magdalene's tomb, though.
That's in the Da Vinci Code.
Yeah.
But I don't really know, where this idea comes from, but some people believe that also.
No, I know. So I know some people actually believe this, but yeah, okay.
I get into that.
Yeah. It's like a documentary on that or something once. I don't know.
I don't know. It's interesting.
Yeah. It's crazy, but it's interesting.
Yeah. So they realize that the password is Sophie's given name, Sophia. But when they open the cryptex, there's another one inside. Dun, 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 dun. Yeah. We're so in sync. Okay.
Yeah.
So the next clue leads them to the tomb of Isaac Newton. And when they get there, it is revealed that Teabing is actually the teacher who had Silas murder Saunier because he wants to use the Holy Grail to prove that Jesus married Mary Magdalene and had children and thereby ruin the Vatican. I don't know what Teabing's motivations were. I don't remember. I assume they were stated in this, or else how interesting would it really be?
Yeah.
Langdon realizes that the password to the little cryptex is Apple, which comes from the whole Newton clue.
Right, yeah.
And he secretly opens it before giving Teabing the empty cryptex, so he fooled him.
Mm-hmm.
The contents of the cryptex lead Langdon and Neveu to Rosslyn Chapel in Scotland, where they find Neveu's long-lost brother and long-lost grandmother. And they finally realize that Sophie and her family are the descendants of Jesus and Mary Magdalene, and that the Holy Grail is beneath the small pyramid in the Louvre, directly below the Louvre's inverted glass pyramid. It's called the Rose Line.
What is?
Like the line passing through the spot that also happens to be the spot where the pyramid is lined up with the other pyramid. Don't try to make reason of it.
All right.
Now for a little bit about the book and its success. The only book to outsell the Da Vinci Code in 2003 was Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix. Not surprising. This book was the second of 5 Robert Langdon novels that Dan Brown wrote, and it was after Angels and Demons and before The Lost Symbol, Inferno, and Origin. There have been a lot of critiques about the novel, many of them from Justin. No.
I've never read it. It just sounds bad.
Yeah, like basically people say it's making up history and also insults Christianity. In an interview in 2003, Dan Brown claimed that all of the history in the novel is true.
Shut up, Dan
Which,
Brown.
like, okay, my argument about all these books the whole time has been, it's fine, it's fiction. He knows it's fiction. It's just for fun. He knows it's just a conspiracy theory, but he's pretending it's real. But apparently he's not just pretending it's real. He believes in it, which makes me a little bit more ashamed for reading them, but I'm still interpreting them in my own way.
He believes his own bullshit.
Apparently, which I find shocking. I thought he just thought it was fun to like expand on these conspiracy theories, which I think is interesting, but I don't know. Anyway, in 2006, the film was released starring Tom Hanks as Robert Langdon and Audrey Tautou as Sophie Naveau. The movie got mixed reviews, but Roger Ebert said, Ron Howard is a better filmmaker than Dan Brown is a novelist. He follows Brown's formula and elevates it into a superior entertainment with Tom Hanks as a theo-intellectual Indiana Jones.
I mean, it's definitely true that Ron Howard is a better filmmaker than Dan Brown is a novelist.
But this made me question, like, all of my own personal opinions, because I've read the book and I've seen the movie and I liked the book and I did not like the movie.
Okay.
So now I don't know if I can trust myself anymore. Trust Roger Ebert more than I trust myself. But I like the books.
Okay.
I've read every one of his books except that last one, Origin. They're just, like, mindless fun.
Okay.
Like, a lot of the critiques were like, oh, this is the most poorly written thing I've ever read. Like, he has no ability to write prose. Like, all these things like that. And I was like, fine. Like, I'm not going to argue with that. But sometimes you just want something quick and fun.
But, I mean,
silly.
The fun thing could be well written. That wouldn't hurt it.
It could. Like, the Outlander books that I've mentioned.
If you say so,
which I'm reading now still.
Okay.
I think they're well written. Like,
okay.
I know a book is well written when, like, there are words in it that I have to look up. I mean, that's not the only thing about it, but, you know, that helps.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like those have gotten a warmer reception than, like,
definitely.
Dan Brown, for instance. Yeah.
I think they've gotten a generally good reception.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Are you ready?
Yep.
Question 3. Science.
Okay.
In computer science, the 6 main quality requirements that any program must have are reliability, usability, portability, maintainability, efficiency and performance, and what ability, which describes how well a program anticipates problems due to errors during execution. Yeah, there's a hard one.
When you say what ability, is that in quotations? Like, do you mean that it ends in ability like the other ones do? Or is it just a...
It does not end in ability, if that's what you're asking.
That is what I'm asking. Because that's what it sounded like.
Efficiency/performance does not end in ability.
Okay.
This one also does not end in ability.
All right.
Sorry.
All right. So the ability to predict problems.
Anticipate problems due to errors during execution.
Foresight.
No, this is a hard one.
What
Sorry.
is it?
Robustness.
Huh.
Yeah.
Is that what they mean when they say that in computer science?
Yeah.
We use that term, but we use it as a statistical term. It means something completely different.
By we, he means researchers.
Yeah, so psychologists. We use the term robustness when we're talking about, like, the robustness or the reliability of a finding, but that means something completely different than what you're describing.
Yeah, reliability is separate.
Okay.
Yeah. So, I'm sure most of our listeners have a basic understanding of computer program, but I've actively avoided learning about it, so I figured what better way to force myself to learn the basics than to write a question about it.
Mm-hmm.
And by basics, I mean very basics.
Okay.
The most basic. I'm not talking about the computer program.
It's not a program, it's a language.
Sure. Close enough. This is just
not the same.
Demonstrating how little I know.
Basic is a programming language.
I know. Anyway, I apologize in advance to my mother and any other computer programmers who might be listening to this.
Yep. Or anyone with just a basic understanding of, say, Microsoft Excel.
Exactly. So, for anyone else who is as clueless as I am, I'm going to start from the very beginning. Maybe in a future game, we'll get into a bit more depth, but we are going for the basics here.
Okay.
So I can learn.
All right.
Programmable devices have existed long before modern computers existed. As early as 1206 AD, with the Muslim mathematician Al-Jazari's automata that could be programmed to play different drum rhythms. Yeah, pretty
That's
cool. The first actual computer program was in 1843 when Ada Lovelace published her algorithm to sequence Bernoulli numbers using Charles Babbage's analytical engine. And I talked about Ada Lovelace in episode 6, and you should go back and listen.
Yeah, it's a good episode.
Yeah, Ada Lovelace was interesting.
She wrote a computer program like 100 years before computers actually became a thing.
Exactly.
Because Babbage never actually built the analytical engine.
Exactly, which is pretty awesome.
Yeah.
She was badass.
Yes, she was.
Yeah. After more modern computers came about, punch cards or perforated paper tape was used to enter programs. By the late 1960s, computers were advanced enough to program by typing into them directly, which is what is done now.
Yep.
Basically, the purpose of computer programming is to create a sequence of instructions that can be used to automate the performance of a certain task. In order to program something, the programmer must have the required knowledge in the area of the program, and they must also have the specialized algorithms and logic skills. Logic is an important part.
Yeah.
The implementation of these algorithms in a certain programming language is what is known as coding.
Right.
So, certain programming languages are preferred for certain tasks. There are low-level and high-level programming languages. Low-level languages are usually for machines and are easier to execute, whereas high-level languages are more abstract but don't execute as quickly.
Right. So the low-level ones are very hard to code.
Right.
But they run super fast because they're like basically like they're very close to the hardware. They say, right? Isn't that the term? Like
you think I know the terms?
I
just read. This is what I read.
It requires less steps to get it from the language to the hardware, basically.
Sure. Yeah, I think that's right.
Yeah.
So, like I said in the question, the 6 main quality requirements that any program must have are reliability, usability, portability, maintainability, efficiency/performance, and robustness.
Mm-hmm.
Reliability just means how often the results of the program are correct and can be achieved by not making programming mistakes. So,
right.
Yeah. Usability is pretty self-explanatory, but part of it is the usability for a program for unexpected purposes. For example, if a program works well for one purpose, but then users want to use it for another purpose, but it doesn't work for that, the program might be unsuccessful as a whole.
Right. Makes sense.
Yep. Yeah. Portability is essentially how many hardware and operating system platforms a program may be used on.
Mm-hmm.
Maintainability is the ease with which a program can be modified to improve and or customize it. Efficiency performance is how much of the system's resources are utilized by the program, and robustness, because I already told you.
Right.
So it is also important for programs to have good readability so that other people can comprehend them, and it affects the program's portability, usability, and most importantly, maintainability. So there you have it. That's it. The most basic information about computer programming. And maybe one of these days I'll improve at using Excel, but we will never know.
I've tried to teach Hallie on more than one occasion how to write basic formulas in Microsoft Excel, which is like, it doesn't even qualify as computer programming, but it follows some of the same principles of like Boolean logic and these kinds of things, and it just broke her.
I think I'm missing the logic part of my brain or something. I don't know. Like for someone who's very good at like learning and trivia, I don't know. I don't have this in me. And especially for someone whose mother was a computer programmer back when very few women did this.
Right.
I'm ashamed.
Brother.
I'm a disgrace to my family. All right. You ready?
Yep.
Sports and games.
Okay.
4th question.
Okay.
You have gotten 2.
Yes.
So, in the 5th installment of what Rockstar Games video game franchise is there an Xbox One cheat code that gives you invincibility? Even though you can do a lot of crazy shit in these games, killing civilians usually brings on a response team to arrest or kill you.
The 5th edition of a Rockstar game?
The 5th installment of what Rockstar Games video game franchise?
Grand Theft Auto.
Yeah.
Yeah. What?
Sorry. I'm just laughing at what I wrote. This is what I wrote.
Please share with the class.
Sorry. I wrote, no joke, I almost tried to say that baseball umpire gestures counted as a code because I couldn't think of anything for this category. And then I was like, duh, cheat codes. Those are codes.
Yeah.
But yeah, I almost went into some sort of deep discussion from the depths of the internet about the history of umpire gestures.
That doesn't seem trivia relevant to me.
Not really. And also, we've talked so much about baseball. I'm glad I came up with something
There's
else.
been a lot of baseball this season. Yeah.
I think it's because it's like the biggest sport that we know the littlest about,
Yeah.
if that makes sense.
Neither one of us is much of a baseball fan, so
I'm like a weirdly
Yeah.
dedicated Mets fan specifically, but also not, don't watch it.
when was the last time you watched a Mets game?
I'll watch a Mets game when they make the playoffs.
So never you've watched a Mets game?
I've been to a Mets playoffs game. It wasn't that long ago.
All right, let's talk about Grand Theft Auto.
Let's.
Okay.
Grand Theft Auto was created by David Jones and Mike Daly and comes from the term in the US for car theft. Apparently that is not the term everywhere. More than 250 million copies of the games have been sold. It is actually the fourth highest selling video game franchise after the Mario and Pokemon franchises and Tetris. Isn't that crazy?
Really?
Yeah.
It's ahead of Halo.
It's ahead of everything except Mario and Pokemon and Tetris.
That's hard to believe.
I know, isn't that crazy?
Yeah, wow.
I thought Zelda or Halo.
I would have thought Halo would absolutely be up there, but
no.
Huh.
I mean, I'm sure it's up there. I don't know where it is.
But yeah.
Could be the next one. I'm not sure. So the first game was released in 1997 for Microsoft Windows and MS-DOS. Did I say that right?
Yeah.
The rest of the games have been available on Dreamcast, Game Boy Color, and all of the PlayStation and Xbox consoles. There have also been expansion packs to the games. The original game had Grand Theft Auto London 1969 and Grand Theft Auto London 1961. Grand Theft Auto 3 had a prequel called Grand Theft Auto Liberty City Stories, and Grand Theft Auto 4 had a prequel called Grand Theft Auto Vice City Stories. The expansion packs for Grand Theft Auto 4 were called The Lost and Damned and The Ballad of Gay Tony.
Yep.
So, on to the more interesting part about what the games are about.
Mayhem, mostly.
Yes. Mayhem. Sorry, now I'm just thinking about the commercials. I love those commercials. Anyway, in each game, the player plays the role of a criminal involved in organized crime in a large city. Higher-ranking members of the organized crime circles give you missions to complete, which moves you through the story of the game. The main missions involve assassinations and other violent crimes. Other things that happen on occasion are driving taxis and buses or flying helicopters or planes. In some of the later games, the protagonist must overcome a traumatic event like a betrayal and use that to drive them to rise up the ranks of the criminal organization. The category of video games that Grand Theft Auto fits into is called open world games, meaning that its gameplay isn't linear and the player can choose which missions to follow and when. Like a lot of games.
Yeah.
Like I said in the question, you cannot just freely commit a ton of crimes without the police figuring it out. The more crimes you commit, the more stars you get. Smaller crimes get you fewer stars while bigger ones get you more. The response to just 1 star could be some police cars chasing you, whereas 5 or 6 stars, called the wanted level, could end up with you being chased by tanks and helicopters.
Yeah.
Crazy. The way to decrease the wanted level is by avoiding detection or spending money in the game to help avoid the police. Also, if the player dies in the game, they respawn in a hospital and they no longer have the wanted level.
Right.
The original game included 3 cities: Liberty City, which is based on New York, Vice City, which is based on Miami, and San Andreas, which is based on different areas in California. The other games sort of expand on these cities and add different areas and versions of the same cities.
So wait, Grand Theft Auto, the original game had all 3 of those cities?
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, I always thought the first one was just set in Liberty City. Huh.
That is not what I read.
Okay.
I've never played any of these games.
I didn't know that. I thought Vice City and San Andreas were developed for those games, the follow-ups to GTA 3, but I guess not. I didn't know that. Interesting.
The games have also had some famous voice actors, including Kyle MacLachlan, Ray Liotta, and Samuel L. Jackson.
Nice.
Which sounds fun. Apparently, the game is the most controversial game in history, with over 4,000 articles published about it. Grand Theft Auto 3 led to controversy because you could pay prostitutes for their services in order to restore your health, and then you could even kill them to get your money back, which is pretty fucked up, if you ask me.
Yeah.
That's horrible.
I remember when that game came out and everybody's like freaking out about it, how you could pay the hookers and then beat them to death with a baseball bat and get your money back or whatever
that's
you wanted.
insane. I mean, no, I understand that all the research saying that violent video games make people violent is not really real.
Right, yeah.
But on the other hand, people should not, like, teenagers should not be playing that. I don't know.
I mean, the whole point of the games is that
much.
it gives you complete freedom to do whatever you want. Like, you don't have to beat the prostitutes to death if you don't want to, but you can. Just like you could in real life.
Curious. Just like you can in real life, except there's no consequences. It's not the same as
well, there are consequences. The police come for you.
They're not real police. There's no real consequences.
They're also not real prostitutes.
I know, but like, I don't know. It's weird. It weirds me out. It's too much.
Okay.
I mean, I wouldn't do it. Well, I wouldn't play this game. This isn't my kind of game. I'd rather play Skyrim.
Yeah, no, I've never...
Chop off.
Right, I mean, you can literally behead people in that game. If you're carrying an axe, you can... There's literally a perk you can get in that game to decapitate people.
For some reason, that's, like, less offensive than fucking a prostitute and then killing her.
Okay.
I mean, I understand. I mean, you must understand why. Like,
I mean, they're both pretty ultra-violent.
Yeah, okay, fine. I have chopped people's heads off.
Yeah.
I'll admit it.
Yeah.
I guess something about it being more like modern day is more realistic or something.
I would not describe the Grand Theft Auto games as realistic by any stretch.
I have no idea what they're like, but anyway.
I haven't played any of them since, I guess, GTA 3 I played a little bit of. I mean, I've never really, like, been that into them. I just don't think all the controversy is reasonable. Like, just who fucking cares? Like, it's a game.
Yeah.
Anyway.
All right. Anyway, the next question is everything else.
Okay.
What is the code name for the National Security Agency program leaked by Edward Snowden in 2013 that gathers internet communications from certain U.S. internet companies?
Don't remember. Oh, what's it called? It's like an acronym for... Fuck. I should know this. I don't remember what it's called.
Should I just tell you?
Cobalt.
That sounds fun, but no.
What is it?
It's called Prism.
Prism. Fuck. Yeah.
It's okay.
No, I should have gotten that.
You've gotten 3 so far.
I know. I should have gotten that one.
All right. So, to start from the beginning, the reason that the PRISM program exists in the first place is because of George W. Bush's Protect America Act of 2007, which said that warrants are not necessary for the government to perform surveillance of foreign targets.
Mm-hmm.
Also, in the wake of this act, in 2008, Congress decided to amend the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act, or FISA, I guess.
Yeah, FISA.
Yeah. This was done because in late 2005, the New York Times publicly revealed that the NSA, or National Security Agency, was wiretapping U.S. citizens without warrants, and FISA says that it is illegal to engage in electronic surveillance in this manner. The amendment to FISA also included provisions that were like those in the Protect America Act, and extended them until December 2017. Lastly, the amendment basically gave immunity to private companies who agreed to cooperate with the government agencies and intelligence collection.
Mm-hmm.
The NSA uses the PRISM requests to target encrypted communications in the internet backbone, which are interconnected computer networks. They also use them to get data that is easier to handle and data which previous systems usually filtered out. In early June of 2013, Edward Snowden, an NSA contractor, leaked classified documents about the PRISM program to the Washington Post and The Guardian. According to NSA documents, PRISM accounts for 91% of the NSA's internet traffic under the authority of FISA. Some of the companies that were revealed to be participants in the PRISM program were Microsoft, Yahoo, Google, Facebook, AOL, and Apple. So basically all the big ones.
Everyone. Yep.
According to the leaked information, most internet communications around the world pass through the United States because data usually follows the cheapest route, and the US has most of the world's internet infrastructure, which makes it cheaper. It doesn't follow the shortest route, it follows the cheapest route.
Right.
Which I did not know that.
That makes sense.
Yeah, so Snowden said that this allows for the NSA to intercept communications of foreign targets. That's how they do it.
Right, okay. That's interesting.
Yeah. So in May of 2013, Edward Snowden took a leave of absence from the NSA and flew to Hong Kong. On June 21, 2013, the U.S. charged Snowden with 2 counts of violating the Espionage Act of 1917 and theft of government property and revoked his passport. Right after that, he flew to Moscow, but since he had no passport, he had to live in the airport for a whole month.
Yeah.
Eventually, Russia had recognized his right of asylum and gave him permission to stay there for 1 year. Since then, they have extended his visa to last until at least 2020.
Right.
On July 2nd, 2014, the Privacy and Civil Liberties Oversight Board released a more detailed description of the PRISM program, after he leaked it, I think it was
Right.
whatever.
Once they got caught with their pants around their ankles, then they had to explain what the underwear was.
Exactly. So they said that they only used PRISM to collect internet communications and not phone conversations. They also said that only certain communications are targeted, such as those from certain email addresses. They're not looking at everything.
Right.
And they said that they don't use keywords or names to collect data, which is what some people believe, but they said they don't.
Right.
In January of 2018, Congress and the President renewed the PRISM program, which was set to expire on January 19th, 2018. As controversial as this was back in 2013, it seems like much of the public has forgotten about it by now. It kind of just slipped under the radar, Trump renewed the PRISM program last year and nobody noticed.
Yeah.
So, kind of weird.
Yeah, well, I mean, we're in a 24-hour news cycle, right? There's always another headline to replace what we were thinking about yesterday, I guess.
Sure, but this was such a big deal back then, and now it's just whatever. What are we going to do?
Yeah, well, we're on to other scandals now, I guess.
Yeah, I guess there are bigger fish to fry.
We have, well, not just that, but we Americans have notoriously short attention spans, so now there's other things that we're thinking about, and we're not thinking about this, I guess.
I mean, there are still people who, I don't know if the word is lobby, but protested or whatever.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
Should have gotten that.
All right, are you ready for the last question?
Yeah.
Sounds and Screen. What Canadian rock trio, whose highest-selling album is called Moving Pictures, wrote the song YYZ after the airport identification code for Toronto Pearson International Airport and incorporates Morse code for the letters?
Rush?
Is that your final answer?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's Rush. I'm so impressed. I did not think you would know Rush.
It's the only Canadian rock band I can think of.
I didn't know anything about them. I didn't know they were Canadian. I didn't know anything.
I knew they were Canadian and that they're called Rush.
And I'll tell you the rest.
That's about it. Yep, good.
So, as you may have guessed from the question, and I guess you knew they were from Canada.
And nothing else.
Yeah. So they started out in Toronto, specifically a town called Willowdale. They formed the band in September 1968 with Alex Lifeson as guitarist, Jeff Jones as bassist and frontman, and John Rutsey on the drums. After just a couple of weeks, Jeff Jones left and was replaced by Geddy Lee. They played a lot of gigs in the basement of their local church, and in 1971 they officially took the name Rush, which was suggested by Rutsey's brother. Random.
Okay.
In 1973, they released their first single, Not Fade Away, a cover of a Buddy Holly song. Side B of that had an original song written by Rutsey and Lee called You Can't Fight It. It wasn't very popular, so no record companies were interested in them, so they decided to start an independent label, which they called Moon Records. That would have been a good Moon episode question, too.
Well, yes, but the Sounds and Screen question was literally about the movie Moon.
I know, you can't get more basic than that.
Right, yes, it's the most appropriate question.
You're right. They then released their self-titled album in 1974, which was not very popular, until it was played by a radio station in Cleveland, Ohio. The newfound popularity that they got from this led to the album's re-release in the US by Mercury Records. That's funny. Moon, Mercury.
Yeah.
There's a theme. Unfortunately, after the album was released, Rutsey left the band because of health concerns from diabetes. 2 weeks before their first U.S. tour, in July 1974, they found their new drummer, I meant to look up how to pronounce his name, Neil Peart, P-E-A-R-T. I should have looked it up. Let's go with
Peart. I told you, the only thing I know about Rush is they're from Canada.
Useless.
I don't know the name of their drummer, let alone how you pronounce it.
I feel like it's gotta be Neil Peart.
Okay.
Peart? It's Peart.
Peart.
I don't like saying that. I'd rather it be Peart.
Well, I guess it isn't.
It's Peart.
Okay.
So soon after, Peart also took over as lyricist for the band, while Lee and Lifeson focused more on the instrumentals for their first album together, called Fly By Night. Peart loved sci-fi and fantasy genres, which came across in many of his lyrics. Their next album, Caress of Steel, was a 5-track album with 2 multi-chapter songs called The Necromancer and The Fountain of Lamneth. But the critics didn't like it, and they said they should be more commercially friendly. So they completely ignored this advice, and their next album, 2112, had a 20-minute title track, which was divided into 7 sections.
Yeah. That's like the big one, right? 2112. Like that's their most well known,
I
I
thought
think.
their most well-known was New World. Oh, that's the song. Wait. No, yeah, maybe.
Like that's the album that sounds the most familiar out of
New
what you
World Man
said.
is a song. Oh, well, anyway.
Yeah.
Maybe. But anyway, even though it wasn't commercially friendly, it still became their first platinum album in Canada.
Right.
After that, in 1977, they went to Wales to record their next 2 albums, A Farewell to Kings and Hemispheres. At this point, they became more progressive and began to include complex time signature changes and use the synthesizer more. In 1980, they released the album Permanent Waves, which had new wave and reggae aspects and also had shorter songs, which led it to become the first U.S. top 5 album. So they finally listened and it worked.
What was that one called?
Permanent Waves. That was the one I was
Permanent
thinking
Waves.
of. Must have been the biggest because it became their first U.S. top 5 album.
Never heard of that one, but I've definitely heard of 2112.
Interesting.
Huh.
Are you sure you're not thinking of the themed alien restaurant in New York?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because I don't know what you just said.
Oh, okay, never mind.
Okay.
It was like in New York City they used it's definitely not still there. There was this restaurant, I think it was called 2112. It was like alien space themed and like the waiters looked like I never went, but like it was my brother's dream as a child to go to this restaurant. We never went. Apparently the food was shit and it was just for kids to go and
See
look
the
at
space
aliens.
Yeah.
Parents hated it.
No, that's not what I'm thinking of.
Okay. Anyway. The height of Rush's popularity was with the release of their album Moving Pictures in 1981, which continued the trend from Permanent Waves of commercially friendly progressive rock. So, that was the height of their popularity. So
Okay.
maybe it was that.
Okay.
The lead track, which is still their best known song, is called Tom Sawyer. Have you heard of it?
Yes, I like that song.
Yeah, it's a good song. This was also the album with the song YYZ that I mentioned in the question. They heard the Morse code for YYZ at the Toronto Pearson International Airport over the aircraft radio and liked the rhythm of it, so they incorporated it into the song.
That's cool.
Yeah, I thought so. Their next album, Signals, had their only U.S. top 40 pop hit, which was called New World Man, and also incorporated more ska, funk, and reggae elements. In the mid-80s, their albums were very synthesizer heavy and had less guitar, but this changed in 1989 with their album Presto, which was more guitar-centric. The band went on tour in 1997, but then went on a 5-year hiatus after Peart's daughter died in a car accident, and then his wife died from cancer just 10 months later.
Jesus.
Yeah, horrible. A couple of years later, though, he remarried and then decided he was ready to start recording with the band again in 2001. In 2004, they went on a 30th anniversary tour in the US, Canada, and Europe. They released their next album, Snakes and Arrows, which was released in 2007 and debuted at number 3 on the Billboard 200. In July 2008, they appeared on The Colbert Report, where they were interviewed by Stephen Colbert and performed Tom Sawyer. They also appeared as themselves in the 2009 movie I Love You Man.
Okay.
Slapping the bass, no?
I haven't seen that movie.
You know what I'm talking about?
No.
I tried to force you to watch it once.
Yeah.
I guess it didn't work.
I haven't seen that movie.
I love that movie. You should watch it,
All right.
for real.
Okay.
It's funny. He's very into Rush. So Rush was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 2012. In 2014, they announced their Rush R40 tour to celebrate their 40th anniversary. In 2018, a couple of the band members said that they have no plans to tour again. So, for a really long time, they were trying to, skirt around the subject of saying whether or not they were done or not.
Yeah.
It seems like they don't want to, officially say it, but they said they have no plans to tour again.
Right. Okay.
But it's pretty cool to see, after reading about the Beach Boys and, most bands have a lot of issues with each other.
Yeah.
They seem, pretty happy together.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like
Which is
more
nice.
of a retirement than a breakup, the way you're describing it.
Yeah, exactly.
They're just kind of old and sick of schlepping around on buses, I assume. And so they're just like, no, we're good.
It seems like maybe the key is to keep your band small, 3 people who get along well. That's it. That's all you need.
Well, I mean, so the Beach Boys were 4, right?
I don't know. There were a lot of people in and out because you know how they all tour in different
Well,
groups now.
but it was usually 4 at a time,
I think
wasn't
so.
it? Yeah, they were 4. The Beatles were 4. Fleetwood Mac were 5. You might be onto something.
Yeah, I'm gonna start a trio.
Yeah. Okay.
I didn't know Rush was a trio.
I didn't
Before.
either. Again, all I know is they're Canadian.
Well, now you know more.
I do.
And I started
I know
listening-
Tom Sawyer. I never remember that it's them.
So I
But
listened
I like
to
that song.
Yeah, I liked it. I listened to it. I liked it. Then I was like, so now that I've listened to Tom Sawyer, I'm going to listen to The Fountain of Lamneth.
Oh, God.
Because I was like, I just have to know what this is. I kind of liked it. I didn't listen to all of it because it was like 11 minutes. But,
Right, yeah, it's just a weird, long, progressive rock song.
But I have to say, I wasn't sure. Like, I never really listened to this kind of music, so I wasn't sure if I would like them or not, but I kind of like it.
Yeah, I'm not super into prog rock.
Maybe I'll become a Rush fan.
I think
that I can see them, so.
Yeah, I feel like I respect prog rock more than I like it. You know what I mean? Like, I respect the ethos of doing something kind of weird and different,
I think
and
it's
like
cool.
saying we don't really care like what the critics want or what the people want. Like, this is just what we do, and we're just gonna like screw around and experiment. I feel like I respect that, but I don't like the music all that much.
I really don't think that I listened to any of it until I tried Rush last week.
I
like it.
Yeah.
Well, I like Tom Sawyer and the Fountain of Lamneth.
Tom Sawyer is a really great song.
I should try listening to the 20-minute title track, 2112.
I've never listened to 2112. I'm sure it's unbearable.
Probably. I don't know. Okay.
All right.
All done.
Okay.
You got 4, and now you're ahead of me by 1. Boo.
Going into the last 2 games of the season, I have a crucial 1-point lead right now.
Ugh, so sad. I really did not think you would know Rush.
I didn't. It was
Yeah,
a guess.
really, that was a guess.
It was an informed guess.
Shouldn't have said Canadian, I guess.
Okay, that's not even... That's an impossible question.
I was going to say, even if I didn't say Canadian, you would have thought Canadian because the whole question is about the Toronto airport.
True. Yeah, no, that's true. I probably still would have said, okay, what's
Toronto,
a Canadian band I know? Yeah, no, that's probably right.
Yeah, okay, so you were up 11-10.
Yes.
And that is it for this week. You can find us on all of your podcast platforms.
Yep.
You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter at Quiz and Hers at Gmail. Like, subscribe,
rate, review.
You know how it goes.
All that stuff.
Yeah, we like to hear feedback and read reviews and hear from you guys about what you think.
And the reviews are not just to stroke our dicks; they also do help us in gaining exposure. So, sorry, did I say dicks? I meant egos. The reviews actually they really do help us in gaining exposure and getting more listeners. So yeah.
Yeah.
Or just tell a friend.
I also like to hear the feedback.
Yeah.
So.
Oh yeah, we're on YouTube.
YouTube, yes, YouTube.
We never say that, but all the episodes are on YouTube now. Just search Quiz and Hers, you'll find it.
Yep. Okay.
All right.
We will see you next week
for the home stretch of season 3.
Yep.
To crown the champion.
Yep. We're getting there.
Let's do this.
All right.
All right. See you next week.
Yep. Bye.
Bye. What you Googling?
Double checking. You make me paranoid.
I'm probably wrong.
The original Grand Theft Auto introduced 3 main cities.
Cool.